You may have heard the news about how Donald Trump survived the gunshot, but I bet you don't know a single thing about the U.S. elections that I'm about to share. Secrets that have been kept hidden from you. I'm going to tell you 25 facts, including little-known historical events and surprising truths. There's so much more to the story than what meets the eye, so get ready to uncover some shocking revelations that could change the way you see the electoral process. Fact 1. Unlikely careers before becoming presidents. You'll be surprised at the unusual jobs some U.S. presidents had before reaching the White House. For instance, Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer toiling away in Plains, Georgia, while Ronald Reagan was a famous movie star, starring in over 50 films. And let's not forget Abraham Lincoln, who earned the nickname Rail Splitter for chopping logs to make fences. Even Andrew Johnson, the 17th president, started off as a tailor. It's wild to think that these leaders had such diverse beginnings. How do you think unique experiences shaped their presidencies? This is just the start. We're about to dig deep into U.S. elections and uncover secrets you've never heard before. Fact 2. The White House had different names. You might be surprised to learn that the White House wasn't always called the White House. Originally, it was referred to as the Presidential Mansion or the Executive Mansion. It wasn't until Theodore Roosevelt officially adopted the name White House in 1901 that it became widely recognized by that title. Imagine calling it the Executive Mansion today. It just doesn't have the same ring to it. This iconic building has a rich history that goes beyond its name, and there's so much more to discover about its fascinating past. Fact 3. George Washington's liquor campaign strategy. Did you know that George Washington once blew his entire campaign budget on 160 gallons of liquor to serve to potential voters? That's right. In 1789, when he was running for president, Washington understood the importance of making a good impression and winning over supporters. So he threw a massive party, offering drinks to the guests in hopes of securing their votes. It's a fascinating and somewhat humorous glimpse into the early days of American politics. Who knew that getting elected could involve a party of such epic proportions? Stick around. There's more to uncover about the quirky side of U.S. elections. Fact 4. George Washington was the only U.S. president not affiliated with a political party. George Washington was the only president who did not represent a political party. Even though he played a crucial role in the founding of the United States, Washington believed that political parties would lead to division and conflict. He was elected unanimously in 1788 and again in 1792, serving as a symbol of national unity. In his farewell address, he warned against the dangers of political factions, emphasizing that they could undermine the nation's stability. Washington's unique position as a nonpartisan leader makes his presidency stand out in American history. It's intriguing to think about how different things might be if we had more leaders like him today. Stay with us for more eye-opening facts about U.S. elections. Fact 5. The origins of the elephant and donkey symbols. Cartoonist Thomas Nast is credited with creating both the Republican and Democratic symbols, the elephant and the donkey, respectively. In a cartoon published in Harper's Weekly in 1874, Nast lampooned the political parties, and these animals quickly became iconic representations of each party. The elephant, symbolizing the Republican Party, was depicted as strong and dignified, while the donkey represented the Democratic Party as stubborn, yet spirited. Over time, these symbols gained popularity and became widely recognized, ingraining themselves into American political culture. It's fascinating to see how a simple cartoon can shape the identity of political parties for generations. Fact 6. Ulysses S. Grant received a $20 speeding ticket. The 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant, was given a $20 speeding ticket for riding his horse and buggy too fast down a street in Washington, D.C. This amusing incident in 1872 highlights that even presidents have to follow the rules of the road. Grant was known for his love of horses and had a bit of a reputation for being a fast driver. But this ticket is a humorous reminder of how times have changed. Imagine a president getting pulled over today. It's just one of the quirky stories that make the history of U.S. elections and leadership so fascinating. Fact 7. The simple requirements to be president. There are only 3 requirements to be president, according to Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the U.S. Constitution. You must be at least 35 years old, have lived in the United States for at least 14 years, and be a natural-born citizen. It's fascinating to think that with such straightforward criteria, a diverse range of individuals could theoretically step into the highest office in the land. This simplicity contrasts sharply with the complex political landscape that candidates must navigate during elections. It makes you wonder how different the presidency might look if more people understood these basic requirements. Fact 8. The 1992 election saw the highest voter turnout since 1972. Percent-wise, the 1992 election saw the biggest voter turnout since 1972, with 61.3% of the eligible voter age population heading to the polls. This impressive turnout reflects a surge of civic engagement during a time of significant political and economic change in the country. Voters were motivated by issues such as the economy and healthcare, which resonated strongly with the public. The high turnout is a reminder of the power and impact that collective voices can have in shaping the nation's future. It's interesting to consider what factors might inspire similar enthusiasm in today's elections. Stick around for more compelling facts about the history of U.S. elections. Fact 9. 8 U.S. presidents have died in office, including 4 assassinated. 8 U.S. presidents have tragically died in office, a somber aspect of American history that underscores the risks of leadership. They are William Henry Harrison, Zachary Taylor, Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, Warren Harding, Franklin D. Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy. These events have had profound impacts on the nation, influencing not only the political landscape, but also public perceptions of presidential safety and security. Fact 10. Congress established the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November as Election Day. In 1845, the U.S. Congress passed a federal law designating the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November as Election Day. This decision was made to create a uniform date for federal elections, simplifying the electoral process across the nation. The choice of November was strategic. It allowed farmers to travel to polling places after the harvest season, while also avoiding conflicts with religious observances on Sundays. This law has shaped the American electoral calendar for over a century and a half, establishing a tradition that continues today. It's fascinating to think about how this simple decision has impacted voter participation and the political landscape throughout history. Fact 11. Voting from space became a reality. In 1997, the Texas legislature passed a bill that allowed NASA astronauts to vote from space, making it possible for those serving on space missions to participate in elections while away from Earth. This groundbreaking legislation recognized the unique circumstances faced by astronauts and ensured their voices could still be heard in the democratic process. It's remarkable to think that even in the vastness of space, the importance of civic duty remains a priority, highlighting how far we've come in integrating technology with our electoral system. Fact 12. Head-to-head comparisons. In 1884, the presidential race took an unusual turn, as candidates were compared not just on their policies, but also through the lens of phrenology, the pseudoscience that claimed to assess a person's character and intelligence by examining the shape of their skull. This bizarre practice led to literal analyses of the candidates' heads, with supporters and critics alike attempting to draw conclusions about their capabilities based on cranial features. It's astonishing to think that this fringe science once influenced public perception of leaders, reminding us of the often strange and evolving nature of political analysis throughout history. You can also vote for me by clicking that subscribe button below. Your support means the world, and it helps me bring you more amazing content. Let's move on to the next one. Fact 13. the strange world of campaign merchandise, from lanterns and pins to clothes for dogs. Political campaigns have seen some bizarre promotional items throughout history. While today's standard fare includes flyers, bumper stickers, and posters, some unusual items have made their mark. For instance, did you know that campaign buttons used to be actual buttons? In the 1920s, political hood ornaments became popular, and Nixon even introduced bubblegum cigars as part of his campaign. Today, you certainly wouldn't get away with items like cigarette packets as campaign merchandise. Fact 14. The unfair sex, separate ballot boxes for women. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, women's voting rights were severely restricted, raising concerns among authorities about their participation in elections. To control this, the government implemented a system of separate ballot boxes for men and women. This meant that if any illegal ballots appeared in the women's box, they could be easily discarded, effectively silencing women's voices in the electoral process. It's shocking to consider how institutional measures were designed to exclude and diminish the role of women in democracy, highlighting the long struggle for equality and the right to vote that women faced. Fact 15. The first presidential election. Washington's unanimous victory. The first presidential election in the United States took place between 1788 and 1789, marking a significant milestone in American democracy. George Washington emerged as the unanimous choice, receiving all 69 electoral votes, a testament to his popularity and the trust the nation placed in him as a leader. It's remarkable to think that the foundation of the U.S. presidency began with such overwhelming support, setting a precedent for future elections and establishing Washington as a key figure in the nation's history. Fact 16. The longest presidential campaign in history. The 2016 presidential election was notable for featuring one of the longest campaigns in U.S. history, with candidates announcing their intentions as early as 2015. This extended campaign period created a whirlwind of debates, rallies, and media coverage, culminating in the election held in November 2016. It's astonishing to think about how the duration of a campaign can influence public opinion and engagement, shaping the political landscape for years to come. Fact 17. The most votes in history. 2020. Election turnout. The 2020 presidential election set a remarkable record, with more than 159 million Americans casting their ballots, the highest number in U.S. history. This surge in participation translated to an impressive 66.8% of eligible voters, marking the highest voter turnout percentage in over a century. It's incredible to see so many citizens engaged in the democratic process, showcasing the power of collective voices and the importance of every vote in shaping the nation's future. Fact 18. The rise of fake news in the 2016 election. The 2016 presidential election marked a significant rise in fake news stories circulating on social media platforms, with many analysts arguing that these misleading narratives played a crucial role in shaping voter opinions. This influx of misinformation contributed to the election's highly polarizing atmosphere, highlighting how digital media can impact democratic processes. It's alarming to consider the influence of false information on public perception and the importance of media literacy in today's political landscape. Fact 19. Roosevelt's secret campaign from a wheelchair. In the 1932 presidential election, Franklin D. Roosevelt campaigned from his wheelchair due to polio, a fact that was largely kept secret from the public. Despite this significant challenge, his determination and charisma resonated with voters struggling during the Great Depression, helping him secure a historic victory. It's astonishing to think about how Roosevelt's ability to connect with the American people transcended his physical limitations, ultimately changing the course of the nation during one of its toughest times. Fact 20. The Internet revolution in the 2004 election. The 2004 presidential election marked a pivotal moment in political campaigning, as it was the first time candidates extensively utilized the Internet for fundraising and organizing efforts. This innovative strategy not only allowed campaigns to reach a broader audience, but also transformed how candidates engaged with voters. It's remarkable to see how this shift toward digital platforms has reshaped the landscape of political campaigning, paving the way for future elections to harness the power of the internet in unprecedented ways. Have you subscribed yet? If not, you need to hit that button now. You don't want to miss out on the amazing facts coming your way, exclusively on this channel. Fact 21. Poll taxes and voting restrictions in the South. From the late 1800s to the 1960s, many southern states implemented poll taxes as a means to restrict voting rights, disproportionately impacting African Americans and poor citizens. This practice created significant barriers to the electoral process, effectively disenfranchising millions until it was ultimately declared unconstitutional. It's shocking to reflect on how such discriminatory measures were used to undermine democracy, highlighting the ongoing struggle for civil rights and the importance of protecting every citizen's right to vote. Fact 22. Comic books as campaign tools in 1952. During the 1952 presidential election, candidates like Dwight D. Eisenhower turned to an unexpected medium, comic books. By featuring their stories in these popular publications, they aimed to reach younger voters and effectively communicate their messages in a relatable format. It's fascinating to see how campaigns have historically adapted to new forms of media to engage with the electorate. Fact 23. Russian interference in the 2016 election. The 2016 presidential election was marked by unprecedented Russian interference, raising serious concerns about election security and the integrity of democratic processes in the United States. This alarming situation highlighted the vulnerabilities within the electoral system and sparked discussions about safeguarding future elections from foreign influence. It's a stark reminder of the challenges that modern democracies face in an increasingly digital world. Fact 24. The use of coffin ads in 19th century campaigns. In the late 19th century, political campaigns resorted to using coffin ads, dramatic advertisements that depicted the dangers of voting for opponents. These sensational tactics revealed the lengths to which campaigns would go to sway public opinion and instill fear in voters. It's shocking to consider how such aggressive strategies shaped political discourse and reflected the contentious nature of that era's elections. Fact 25. Secret meetings of the Founding Fathers. During the Constitutional Convention in 1787, the Founding Fathers held secret meetings to debate the structure of the electoral process, culminating in the creation of the Electoral College. These clandestine discussions were crucial in shaping how the United States would conduct its elections, illustrating the complexity and foresight involved in establishing a new government. It's intriguing to think about the foundational decisions made behind closed doors that continue to influence American democracy today. Okay, that's it for now. Comment below on how many of these facts you already knew. I bet the answer will be no more than 5. So for now, we'll wrap up here. Stay tuned for our next exciting video about